welcome to Math Mini Lessons. This is our 100th lesson in the school year. Thank you for making this far. This is amazing. I hope you're really enjoying it and feeling really confident as we're coming towards the end. We're literally just 2 more lessons away from the very ending. In this lesson, we're going to look at how to relate that arithmetic sequence to a linear function. So our CFS is to be able to accurately identify the arithmetic sequence looking at a graph, not just a table this time, and find a common difference of the sequence on a graph. And then use that common difference and the y value when x is equal to 1. So we're going to put all our parts together. All right, so let's actually jump into our first example. Now we're going to relate our arithmetic sequence to a linear function, which makes sense because when we have linear graphs, they have a constant rate. So this makes a ton of sense. Linear, let's make this smaller. We do have a constant rate of change. So what does that remind you of? Every time we're thinking about constant rates of change, you're probably already thinking of your y2, y1 over x2, x1, the difference of those two, or you might already just be thinking of your slope. All those ideas can help you, but let's break it down a little bit if that wasn't so clear. So in this graph over here, we're going to look at the cost of going white water rafting. And we're going to try to figure out what would the explicit rule of this linear function be. Okay, so we're going to start off by trying to identify. We need 2 things. We need to know what f of 1 is, and we need to know what the common difference is. Those are our 2 numbers to start off. So the easiest way is to look at your graph and try to identify when x is equal to 1, just our starter value, f of 1. So when x is 1, what is the other number? So when there's 1 passenger, there is 75. That is the cost. So that is our first number that we need. And now how do we find the common difference? You could do 2 things. If you're not sure just by looking at it, you could just fill out the chart and then just figure out what the common difference is. And you're probably just doing that in your head and going, oh, it's just 25. So that's one thing you can do. D is just 25. The other thing you could do is just look and figure out what is M on this graph. So I noticed that my change in Y is 25 over 1. And what it means is I'm doing up 25 over 1, up 25 over 1, up 25 over 1. So I know that my slope is 25. It is increasing by 25. So you can use either one. But once you have those 2 pieces of information, we can create our new explicit rule. So we can have f of n is equal to f of 1 plus d times n minus 1. Or in this case, 75 plus 25 times n minus 1. So if you want to just do that as your function, you can stop there. If you would like to simplify this using distributing, you can. So I'm going to write this one in as well. So in that case, you would have f of n is equal to 75 plus 25n minus 25, or f of n is equal to 50 plus 25n. Both answers can work as a rule. So hit pause and jot this down, but I want you to also think, which one of these explicit functions would you rather work with? Would you rather use the one on the left or the one on the right? They're both going to give you the same answer, but think for yourself, which one would you rather work with? They are both equivalent. They will both work. All right, let's jump into your guided practice. Mike saves money for every week that he babysits. The graph shows how much money Mike saved for every week that he babysits. Determine the explicit rule for the sequence. All right, hit pause and again try to identify what is f of 1 and what would the common difference be. Okay, so starting off, you probably found that f of 1 was equal to 20. And though it may have been a little bit difficult, you should have seen that the common difference was 15. Now, if you didn't see the common difference at first, you could have just put in your points, and you had 120, 2 was at 35, and 3 was at 50, and then it was easier to see that they were increasing by 15. So then you would see that the next one was going to be 65, and the next one was 80. So once you had that, what rule could you have come up with? So you probably did f of n is equal to f1 plus dn minus 1. Or in other words, you would have gotten 20 plus 15 times n minus 1. If you got to that point, you can check it off. If you did a second one as a bonus, keep going, then you probably got 20 plus 15n minus 15 if you distribute it correctly. And this simplified to 5 plus 15n. Both of these, again, are equivalent. You could have used either one. But that's it for today's lesson, Math Marbles. Again, I could tell you my preference is the one that is more simple, that has less terms, but that is just me. As long as you're able to get to this point and this number, then you are doing just fine. And if you didn't work with someone to figure out where are you making the error, are you having an error figuring out the common difference, the d, or are you having an error figuring out what f of 1 is? Right? Or is it just trying to figure out what that formula looks like, and that just means going back into your notes and jotting it down? That's it for today's lesson. I'll see you in the next one. Be well.